My name is Matthew, and today I'm showing you around one of the coolest cars I think we've had the pleasure of offering for sale. This is a 2023 Porsche 911 992.1 GT3 Touring. And for those of you that know, this really is the ultimate driver's car and the ultimate 911. The whole point of the Touring is that you take the rear wing off the back, you make it a little bit more comfortable, although the 992 is almost identical underneath to the standard winged GT3, and you make it just, in my opinion, so much better looking. And for those that see it go down the road that know what it is, there's this sort of undertone of respect, and for those that don't, it could easily be passed off as a standard 911. But let's talk about why, in our view, that's impossible. So, loads of changes over the previous generation and some really cool 992 features. But let's talk about the front end first. The bonnet, for me, is a complete and utter work of art. You've got this sort of concave section at the top of the bonnet that turns into sort of an overcut section to make room for these nostrils here, which I just think is an incredible piece of design. And the actual bonnet itself weighs nothing, and that's thanks to the work of art carbon fiber that it is made of underneath. I mean, for me, this car is about as perfect as a road car can get. And because it's a GT3, not an RS and a Touring, you still have the usability of the front. I'll just pop that down. You get a completely different front apron and front bumper section. And for me, this particular car, finished in racing yellow, has a black and yellow theme throughout that's not too much, perfectly subtle, but does make it stand out compared to the rest of the cars in the market. So we have the satin black section down here to the front bumper, the darkened inserts of the lights, and the satin black roof, obviously to go along with the standard black center lock alloy wheels on these cars. And if we come down the side, I'm sure they are forged, so I do beg your pardon. They will be a cold forged wheel with the massive center lock in the center and the black brake calipers with the Porsche decals down the side of it and the humongous steel rotor brake discs behind it there. And before we move on, I wanted to show you something really special about this car. This is the key. And if you can have a look at the key has actually been custom painted to match one of the most famous racing Porsches, the Grello racing Porsche GT3, that Porsche originally started taking to the Nürburgring 24 hours, but now have a few outings throughout the rest of the year. So some really cool details, a lot of attention has been put into this car. Again, I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, but it's a one-owner example, and it's covered 6,800 miles. And if you go in and have a look at the inside of the car, that racing yellow theme continues throughout the interior. It's subtle, but it is so, so special. We've got contrast racing yellow stitching and details everywhere, including on the inside of the steering wheel, the rev counter, the sub-second clock for the sports chrono, and the 18-way comfort seats. And if you've watched your reviews on this car, the one I watched the most was the one Chris Harris did when they launched this car, was his view that the carbon fiber bucket seats in 992.1 GT3 and GT3 Touring were the limiting factor for comfort. This car is quite a stiff car, but being a Touring, you want that usability, and that's why the 18-way sports seats, for me, are the correct seat for this car. We've got privacy glass to the rear three-quarters, this completely updated rear bumper. It's so big and it's so wide and aggressive, and we've got cutouts all over the rear bumper and the rear diffuser section. You've got a big diffuser that runs deep under the back of the car as well, and the reversing camera fitted really neatly under there as well. It has, of course, got the darkened rear lights, or the sports design rear lights, and of course it's got an active sports exhaust, and the GT3, very subtle GT3 Touring decal or badge just on the back of the engine cover there. And I'll jump in now and run you through some of the interior features and some of my favorite things about the inside of this particular car. So I'll just hop myself in. And we'll start on the driver's door card, and there are some really amazing things that are specific to GT3 Touring and GT3, which is this completely different textured leather that you get that runs across the top of the door card section there and over the top of the driver's binnacle and across the dashboard and along the other side. And it just makes the interior feel that much more special. And again, with that contrast racing yellow stitching throughout. We've got the darkened brushed aluminium trims in this particular car and the darkened door handles. All electric mirrors and electric windows and the all-important BOSE surround sound system, but it is a GT3. You should be listening to that 4-litre flat 6, not the stereo in my view. Coming inside, we'll fire it up. And it just sounds so different to a standard 911. I'm excited because I love this car. The steering wheel is perfect. The Porsche GT steering wheel, most people are familiar with this now. Because we have Chrono Pack Plus, you get this extra drive switch. In a GT3 Touring, you have different drive modes, however. Very simple. You have a sport mode, which opens the exhausts, and you have a track mode, which puts it in its most aggressive driving mode. You can probably hear how loud it is at the moment. And one thing I really love about this particular car is when it's in its certain driving modes, like track, you get a rev change or a shift light come up either side of the rev counter in the middle there. Something that I've thought has always been missing from a performance Porsche, a shift light. And another thing to note, the engineers at Porsche obviously figured out with 992 that this outer section of the Speedo doesn't really work. You can't see it past this section of the steering wheel. So in the GT3 and the GT3 Touring, they allowed you to change the screen to this particular screen, which blanks out those two outer sections and puts all of your relevant information inside, closer to the center of that rev counter, and allows you to see it at all times. It's just brilliant. The racing yellow rev counter going all the way to 9,000 RPM. The car does sing along. And again, look at all the detail on the stitching as we go around the steering wheel. It is a multi-function, as I say, GT steering wheel. Another nice feature is we have cruise control down here. And then as we move across into the center of the car, we'll go straight into the drive modes that the car had there, which is a nice place to stop. We've got that extendable spoiler in the GT3 Touring, sports exhaust system, and adjustable chassis through here. And again, in the comfort settings, we can obviously adjust the passenger seat from the driver's side or the screen and adjust the heat seating and other setup changes in there. If I pop the car into reverse, you'll see the reverse camera come to life and the parking sensors come alive on the right-hand side of the screen there. If I take it back out of there, we have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is running at the moment. So it will show you exactly how well that works. And in this generation of Porsche PCM, it is all wireless. Coming back to the center of the dashboard down here, suspension settings, 2 traction control settings, and of course the all-important front axle lift system. That happens with that button. You wouldn't want a GT3 model without it. It is a vital, vital item. And then my favorite thing about the whole car is 992's silly little switch gear stick has been replaced by the old-fashioned, in my opinion, GT specific, but in my opinion, the best gear stick, a proper gear stick to put the car into drive and back into park. It's so, so cool with the lovely leather stitching down the side in the GT3, in the racing yellow. This controversial cup holder, which yes, if the car was manual, does get in the way if you want to shift gears. However, you can remove it, and there is another vanity panel that goes in there, so you don't need to use it. And then we've got 2 electric heated seats, a lovely section in the center for the armrest, and 2 USB spots underneath. And I'll just jump out now and summarize this car for you. So as I said at the beginning of the video, I think the specification on this car for me is what makes it stand out from other GT3 Tourings. There's no chrome, the theme is satin black and racing yellow, and if you're gonna buy a GT3 product, it needs, in my opinion, to stand out like this particular car. And unusual being a one-owner car, and it was registered near the end of 2023, so this car has warranty till near the end of 2026. A fantastic example of a GT3 Touring. My name is Matthew. I hope the video has helped. Thank you for watching.